The 2026 F1 season hasn't even started yet. Honda has already dropped news that could ruin Fernando Alonso's final title shot, as Motorsport Week noted. Motorsport.com reports they just admitted they are failing. It is January 29, 2026, and the Formula One world is in shock. We are weeks away from the most radical regulation change in the sport's history, as engines shift to a 50-50 split between electric and combustion power. For years, the paddock whispered that the newly formed Aston Martin Honda alliance, led by Adrian Newey, would be the team to end the Red Bull and McLaren dominance. The grid was bracing for a green takeover after Formula One confirmed Lando Norris, fresh off his first world championship. But in the last 48 hours, that narrative collapsed. Honda Racing Corporation President Koji Watanabe has gone on record admitting that their power unit is struggling with the internal combustion engine. This is a potential catastrophe that recalls the dark days of their McLaren partnership a decade ago, which Sky Sports heavily documented. Mercedes and Red Bull reportedly exploited a clever loophole in the new compression ratio rules. Honda and Aston Martin are left scrambling as they miss critical test days in Barcelona and face a performance deficit before the lights even go out in Melbourne. The panic started in Tokyo last week when we got a confession that sounded more like an admission of failure instead of a confident launch for the new RA626H power unit. According to Aston Martin F1, Koji Watanabe stood before the press and delivered a quote that will likely haunt Lawrence Stroll. He stated that the 2026 regulations are technically extremely challenging and perhaps they will struggle? That is not the kind of language expected from a manufacturer that Honda Global highlights as powering Max Verstappen to glory. Project leader Tetsushi Kakuda revealed that the electric components are working, but the internal combustion engine is not meeting targets. He bluntly stated that their progress is lagging for the V6 engine. Hearing an engine supplier admit they might be slow before the first preseason test is a major warning sign for a team that committed fully to this exclusive partnership. It instantly kills the momentum that has been building since Adrian Newey signed his contract. Honda is struggling while others celebrate due to a controversial loophole that has the paddock in an uproar. The 2026 rules lowered the engine compression ratio to 16:1 to limit power, and most teams believed that was a hard limit. Reports from The Guardian and Automotor und Sport confirm that Mercedes and Red Bull found a legal gap. They are allegedly using materials that expand significantly when the engine gets hot. The car is legal when sitting in the garage for inspection, but the cylinders expand once it hits race temperature on track. The ratio jumps, and they access massive horsepower, which provides a rumored 15 brake horsepower advantage. That equates to roughly 0.4 of a second per lap. Honda, Ferrari, and Audi missed this trick because they built their engines to the spirit of the rule rather than the loophole. They are lobbying the FIA to ban it now that the Mercedes and Red Bull engines are already built and ready to dominate. If you are finding this review of the 2026 engine competition interesting, hit subscribe and the notification bell as we cover breaking F1 stories like this every single week. The chaos in the Aston Martin garage is intensifying. The consequences of these struggles are already visible and ugly. Preseason testing in Barcelona is the most critical time of the year, where every lap matters. Yet, Aston Martin has confirmed they will miss the first 2 days of running. The garage doors are shut, and the AMR 26 is missing. Lando Norris is putting miles on the new McLaren, and Max Verstappen is testing the Red Bull Ford package, but Fernando Alonso is sitting in the motorhome. The team is scheduled to run later in the week, consistent with regulations that limit running to 3 days per team. Insiders suggest a much darker reason involves the integration of the struggling Honda engine into Adrian Newey's aggressively tight chassis packaging, stopping progress. Every team is forced to sit out 40% of the session under the new regulations, since they are restricted to running on only 3 of the 5 days. Every lost hour puts them further behind in the development race, and time is the one resource teams cannot buy back, regardless of Lawrence Stroll's budget. The most explosive dynamic in the team is Adrian Newey versus Honda. Newey demanded perfection when he took full control of the team last year. He is famous for packaging cars so tightly that they suffocate the engine if cooling isn't flawless. Reports are leaking about intense conversations between Newey and Honda engineers in Sakura. Newey reportedly demanded changes to the engine layout to suit his aerodynamic concept for the AMR 26, which forced Honda to redesign parts of the power unit late in development. Watanabe tried to frame this positively by saying there is a reasonable degree of confidence in hitting targets, but the tension is undeniable. The greatest designer in history wants a tiny engine, while the manufacturer admits they are already struggling to make the engine work reliably? This clash of philosophies has destroyed relationships in the past. That relationship will turn toxic before the first race in Melbourne. If Newey's chassis is ready, but the engine is overheating or underpowered. The trauma of 2015 is relevant here. Honda promised championships when they returned to the sport with McLaren, but instead delivered the infamous GP2 engine moment for Fernando Alonso. The parallels today are terrifyingly similar because they also started late and compromised the engine to fit a tight chassis concept back then. They also claimed they would catch up quickly. Alonso is driving for the team again, with Honda as the exclusive partner, and they are admitting to technical struggles before the season starts? Alonso will not hesitate to criticize them in the media again if the 2026 engine is unreliable or slow. He signed a contract to win his 3rd title rather than to be a development driver for a failing project. The fear in the Honda camp is palpable because they know there is no Red Bull safety net this time. They are the works team, and there is nowhere to hide. The technical hurdle they face is massive. The 2026 regulations stripped away the MGU-H, which Honda finally mastered, and replaced it with a 350 kilowatt kinetic motor. That is nearly triple the electric power of the previous generation, and the engine is now a 50-50 split between fuel and battery. Honda admitted their previous combustion data is largely unusable because the V6 now acts more like a generator than a traditional racing engine. They must burn synthetic fuel to charge a massive battery that deploys power for almost the entire lap. A weak combustion engine won't charge the battery fast enough, creating clipping where the car runs out of electric boost halfway down the straight. Alonso battling Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, only to have his power cut by nearly 470 horsepower because the Honda engine couldn't keep the battery charged, is a distinct possibility? That is the scenario they are facing. The broader picture for 2026 looks like a 2-tier championship. The prepared giants like Mercedes and Red Bull Ford appear to have mastered the regulations and found speed secrets early. Conversely, strugglers like Honda and Audi are reportedly facing similar headaches with their engines. This creates a dangerous gap in the field. We likely won't see a six-way fight for the title if the rumors of a 4/10 advantage for the loophole teams are true. We might see a domination. Aston Martin built this entire project, including the new factory, the wind tunnel, and hiring Newey to be in that top tier. The entire $250 million investment for 2026 is effectively wasted if they fall into the second group with Audi because of the engine. Lawrence Stroll did not spend a fortune to fight for 7th place. This situation shifts the 2026 narrative significantly. This might be the bitter end of a dream for Fernando Alonso. He gambled everything on this specific regulation change, believing Honda and Newey were the solution. He doesn't have time for a 3-year recovery plan if the car is uncompetitive. It raises serious questions for the sport about the fairness of the new rules if a loophole decides the championship before round 1? The FIA is under immense pressure to intervene, but banning a mechanical design this late would spark a legal war with Mercedes and Red Bull. The season opener could be defined by protests, legal threats, and engine failures, rather than racing. Aston Martin is in a precarious position, and the next few weeks of testing will determine if they can recover or if the project will fail. The 2026 regulations were intended to create equal opportunities, but might have just broken the competition. We will know the truth when the cars finally hit the track in Barcelona later this week. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you want to stay updated on this developing story.